Ladies and gentlemen, people are very angry about politics. Quote, "You're awake right now, you're not dead, and you haven't gone to hell," unquote, said Rachel Maddow, the former host on CNN, following the 2016 election. Donald Trump had similar words following the 2020 election. Quote, "You're not going to have a country anymore," unquote. Late night host Jimmy Kimmel wept for the 2024 election. Quote, "It was a terrible night for women and children, for poor people, for the middle class, for democracy and decency," unquote. Here, Rachel Maddow, Donald Trump, and Jimmy Kimmel made sensational claims. But they didn't make these claims to resolve a problem. Instead, they wanted drama. And they achieved it by displaying shock and anger to the camera. This is false outrage. Even though false outrage is designed for the cameras, it influences others. Actually, it doesn't influence others, it infects them. False outrage is a disease. We'll start with the diagnosis of this disease in our culture, move on to its symptoms, and conclude with the cure. If American culture would walk into a doctor's office, it would come away with a severe diagnosis of false outrage. Outrage is everywhere. A study in Science magazine by Killian McLaughlin and her colleagues found that, quote, "Social media posts that express outrage are liked and shared more, training users to express more outrage and ranking algorithms to amplify it," unquote. For example, Benny Johnson, a conservative podcaster, uses false outrage to attract views. One of his recent videos featured an AI-generated thumbnail of California Governor Gavin Newsom holding a burning dollar bill in front of the Hollywood sign, which was also burning. In another, Donald Trump in Eskimo clothing screams, along with Vladimir Putin? This doesn't make any sense. But Benny Johnson has 15 million followers. Unfortunately, false outrage doesn't just stay online. Humans copy the behaviors and worldviews of the people they spend their time around. And because talk show hosts and media figures consume a significant portion of many people's days, their worldview seeps into the culture. Unfortunate statistics demonstrate this. According to the Foundation for Individual Rights and Expression, a free speech organization, quote, "This year, more than 2/3 of students, 68%, said that shouting down a speaker is at least rarely acceptable," unquote. The report noted that these numbers have increased significantly over the past few years. I've seen false outrage in public. 3 years ago, my grandparents and I went to Washington, D.C. for the March for Life. After the march ended, I decided to keep my poster as a souvenir. A woman saw me carrying my poster and started screaming at me. Likely her beliefs came from political commentators online, but they caused her to take action in the real world. She believed yelling at 13-year-olds makes you a good person. Now that we've diagnosed our culture with false outrage, let's talk about the symptoms. Here they are. An inability to have constructive conversations, with a major side effect of believing that false outrage makes us good people. As writers for The Minimalist, a blog that encourages simple living, put it, quote, "We've all gotten offended without asking ourselves why, and then used our fake outrage to cast judgment on others. That helps us feel better, and pretending to be offended is much easier than attempting to breach the walls of introspection," unquote. When we pretend to be outraged, we don't have to ask, why do I believe this? Piers Morgan, the very British host of a political show with 4 million followers, uses false outrage to avoid hard questions. In 2017, when a guest on his show questioned his stance on gun policy, he responded, quote, "How dare you?" unquote, his face tightening for the camera. When his guest answered, "Well, Piers, you can keep saying that, but my point still stands," Piers didn't address the point. "How dare you?" he repeated again. Nothing Piers Morgan said advanced the debate. Instead, he used outrage to shield himself, because outrage is easier than analysis. The side effect of false outrage. Another side effect of false outrage is that it makes people think that they are morally better. I know this sounds crazy. The research proves it. While studying false outrage, psychologist Joshua Grubbs and his colleagues found that, quote, participants self-reported their motivation as status seeking, unquote. Stephen Colbert, another late-night host, has done exactly that. After Donald Trump held a rally at Madison Square Garden in New York City, Colbert said, quote, "I'm sure it's just a coincidence, but in 1939 they held a pro-Nazi rally there," unquote. With this remark, Colbert insinuated that Donald Trump is Nazi adjacent. Having created a straw man out of Trump, an evil Nazi, Stephen Colbert spared no words, swearing at Trump live on national television. His statements make sense because his worldview treats outrage, even at exaggerated or symbolic evil, as virtuous. Author Glenn Beck describes the human effect of false outrage in his book, Addicted to Outrage. Quote, "It deprives human beings of genuine humanity, replacing it instead with an outwardly facing caricature of a virtuous human being wrapped around a rotting corpse," unquote. This sickly worldview has morality backwards. False outrage replaces good deeds with outraged words. Culture celebrates false outrage. Politicians and media figures promote it. They don't deserve all the blame, but their worldview does deserve the blame. Their worldview is false. False outrage is not a virtue. Moral grandstanding is not a good deed. The moral confusion of media hosts has eroded the genuine compassion of millions and transformed it into outrage. But I wouldn't have accomplished anything if I told you to be outraged at false outrage. That would be a lame cure to this sickness. I used to be addicted to outrage. I was angry at every news story. Thankfully, I was convicted after reading Glenn Beck's book, Addicted to Outrage. I realized what I had been doing. Quote, "Set your minds on things above, not on earthly things," says Colossians 2, verse 3. I made a pledge to stop being outraged at earthly things. Imagine if everyone stopped practicing false outrage. If everyone stopped being so angry. If we calmly discussed difficult questions and stopped believing our outrage makes us good people. That's the world I want to live in. And that world is only possible if you join me. To take a quote from Darth Vader in Star Wars completely out of context, quote, "With our combined strength, we can end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy," unquote. Reject false outrage. Embrace genuine connection. Life is too amazing to waste being angry.